Ellen DeGeneres stopped mid-sentence, staring at the 19-year-old sitting across from her, who looked simultaneously like a teenager and someone who'd lived 3 lifetimes. Marcus Johnson wore his McDonald's uniform. He'd come straight from his shift, and in his lap sat a pink backpack with cartoon princesses on it. His daughters. What happened in the next 60 seconds would become the most powerful father-son moment in television history. Because sometimes when legends collide over a story of impossible love, the whole world remembers what real strength looks like. Nobody in that Warner Brothers studio knew they were about to witness something that would redefine fatherhood for a generation. Not the cameras rolling, not the producers checking their notes, and certainly not Marcus Johnson, who thought he was just there to talk about a viral video that had accidentally captured him studying while his toddler slept in his arms. But Ellen knew. Ellen had been planning this moment for 3 weeks, ever since a video had made her call the greatest basketball player of a generation and say 8 words that would change a young father's life forever. There's a dad who needs to meet you. The video was only 52 seconds long, shot by a McDonald's customer at 11:47 p.m. In it, Marcus was sitting in a corner booth during his break, laptop open, his 2-year-old daughter Zoe asleep against his chest. He was taking notes with one hand while the other held her steady. His eyes were exhausted, but his focus was absolute. The caption read, "This kid works full-time at McDonald's, takes online college classes at night, and raises his daughter alone. He's 19. I'm 45 and complaining about my life. We need to do better." Within 36 hours, 50 million views. Within 2 weeks, Ellen had tracked him down, and LeBron James had said yes before Ellen even finished explaining the story. Now, as Marcus sat in that blue chair, his daughter's backpack clutched like a security blanket, he had no idea that his hero, the man whose poster hung in his childhood bedroom, was watching him backstage. "Marcus, tell me about Zoe," Ellen said gently. "She's 2 years old, right?" Marcus's entire face transformed when he smiled. 2.5. She'll correct you on that. She's the reason I'm here, the reason I'm still fighting. Tell me what happened. You're only 19. Marcus took a deep breath. Zoe's mom and I were 17 when we found out about the pregnancy. High school sweethearts. We were scared but excited. We made plans. Then Zoe was born, and... His voice cracked. 3 months later, her mom left. Just packed a bag one night and disappeared. I haven't heard from her since. The studio went completely quiet. So, at 17, you became a single father. 17 with a 3-month-old baby. No family support. My parents passed when I was 15, lived with my grandmother until she died last year. No money, no degree. Just me and Zoe against the world. Ellen felt her throat tighten. And you're working and going to school? Full-time at McDonald's, overnight shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Zoe stays with a neighbor who watches her for free because she knows I can't afford childcare. I sleep from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I'm with Zoe until 10:30. After she goes to bed, I do homework. I'm studying business management online. It's slow. I can only take 2 classes at a time, but I'm on track to graduate in 4 years. Marcus, that's inhuman. How do you do it? He looked directly at Ellen, and there was something ancient in his young eyes. Because Zoe didn't ask to be born. She didn't ask for her mom to leave, but she asked me last week, "Daddy, will you always stay?" And I told her yes. So I have to keep that promise. I have to show her that even if we start with nothing, we can become something. Camera operators were wiping their eyes. This wasn't a hard luck story. This was a love story, the kind that transcends romance and touches something deeper, the bond between a father and the daughter he refused to abandon. "What do you want for Zoe?" Ellen asked. "Everything. I want her to go to college without student loans. I want her to have dance classes and piano lessons and all the things I can't afford now. I want her to know that her dad never gave up on her. That's why I study. That's why I work. That's why every time I want to quit, I look at her and remember. She's watching. She's learning what love looks like. And I refuse to teach her that love quits when things get hard." But Ellen wasn't just listening as a talk show host anymore. She was listening as someone who was about to facilitate a conversation between this young father and someone who understood what it meant to grow up without a father, to fight for a future, to refuse to let circumstances define your ceiling. Ellen stood up, and the audience sensed something massive coming. "Marcus, there's someone here who's been watching your video every day for 3 weeks. Someone who grew up without his father. Someone who promised himself that if he ever had a platform, he'd use it to lift up fathers like you." Marcus looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Someone who knows that the greatest championship isn't won on a court. It's won in moments like yours. At 11 p.m. in a McDonald's, choosing love over sleep. Choosing your daughter over easy." The studio audience began to buzz with anticipation. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ellen announced, her voice carrying unusual gravity, "please welcome LeBron James." The studio exploded. 300 people jumped to their feet. The sound was deafening. But Ellen was watching Marcus, whose face went through shock, disbelief, and then tears in under 3 seconds. His hands gripped Zoe's backpack, and then he started crying. Not quiet tears, but the kind that come from years of carrying weight alone. LeBron James walked onto that stage with the presence of someone who'd carried teams to championships, but he wasn't carrying his athlete energy. He was carrying something more powerful, the focused intensity of a father who understood what it meant to fight for your children. He wore a simple gray hoodie and jeans. No elaborate styling. Just purpose. "Marcus," LeBron said, his voice carrying that distinctive blend of strength and warmth. "I've been watching your video every morning before practice, and I need to tell you something." Marcus couldn't speak. He was staring at the man who'd inspired him to believe that kids from nothing could become something, that fathers mattered, that greatness was a choice. LeBron walked directly to him and knelt beside his chair. Not stood, not sat, knelt. The gesture said everything about what was about to happen. "Marcus, can I tell you something? I grew up without my dad. My mom raised me alone. She worked 3 jobs, she struggled, she sacrificed. And every day I wished I had a father who chose to stay, who chose to fight." The studio was completely silent now. "You're 19 years old doing what grown men can't do. You're working overnight shifts. You're going to school. You're raising your daughter alone. And you're doing it with a smile, with purpose, with love. Brother, you're not just a good father. You're the father I wish I had." Marcus broke down completely, his shoulders shaking. LeBron pulled him into a hug, not a quick embrace, but the kind of hug that says, "I see you. I understand. You're not alone anymore." When LeBron pulled back, he reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out an envelope. "First school. You're taking 2 classes at a time because that's all you can afford. Not anymore. The LeBron James Family Foundation is giving you a full-ride scholarship. Not just tuition, books, fees, everything. You can go full-time now. Graduate in 2 years instead of 4. Marcus's hands shook as he took the envelope. The audience erupted, but LeBron held up his hand. But that's not all. Ellen stepped forward with the second envelope. Marcus, you work overnight at McDonald's because that's when Zoe's asleep. This envelope changes that. It's a job offer, not just any job. The LeBron James Family Foundation needs a youth coordinator. Daytime hours, $55,000 a year. Benefits, childcare included. Marcus stood up suddenly, unable to process what he was hearing. He covered his face with his hands, Zoe's backpack falling to the floor. But LeBron wasn't finished. He stood with Marcus, placing both hands on his shoulders. Marcus, I'm establishing the Marcus Johnson Fatherhood Fund. It will provide scholarships, job training, and childcare support for single fathers under 25 who are raising their kids alone. Because what you're doing shouldn't be rare. It should be celebrated, and other young fathers need to know it's possible. The camera cut to the audience. Fathers were standing, recognizing their own struggles. Mothers were crying, thinking of men who didn't stay. Young people were witnessing what real manhood looks like. LeBron continued, his voice growing stronger. And Marcus, I want to be Zoe's mentor, not replace you, never that, but support you, because every father needs a village, and starting today, you have one. But there was one more surprise. On the large screen behind them appeared someone Marcus recognized immediately. His daughter Zoe, appearing via video call from his neighbor's living room. "Daddy!" she shouted, waving at the camera. Marcus lost it completely, reaching toward the screen like he could touch her through it. "Hi, baby," he managed to say through tears. "Daddy, are you on TV? Miss Ellen, is my daddy going to be home for breakfast now?" Ellen walked over, smiling through her own tears. "Yes, sweetheart. Your daddy's going to be home for breakfast, and lunch, and dinner, every day." Zoe clapped her little hands. "Yay, Daddy, I love you." "I love you too, baby. Everything Daddy does is for you." The show ended with Marcus, Ellen, and LeBron in a three-way embrace. But the image shared millions of times was simpler. LeBron kneeling beside Marcus, both crying, both understanding that fatherhood isn't about biology, it's about showing up. 6 months later, Marcus Johnson had enrolled full-time at Ohio State University, online program, business management. He'd started his new job at the LeBron James Family Foundation, working with at-risk youth during the day, while Zoe attended the on-site childcare. The Marcus Johnson Fatherhood Fund raised $6.3 million in its first year. Over 150 young single fathers received support, scholarships, job training, childcare assistance, mentorship, and the conversation around young fatherhood shifted from judgment to support. Marcus and LeBron talk every month. Not formal mentorship sessions, just two fathers sharing the weight, celebrating victories, and remembering that raising children is the most important work anyone can do. Zoe is now 3 years old, thriving in preschool, and already talking about going to college like Daddy. When people ask Marcus what he does, he doesn't say he works at a foundation. He says, "I'm Zoe's dad. Everything else is just details." Ellen keeps a photo from that day in her dressing room. LeBron kneeling beside Marcus, both understanding that some championships aren't won in arenas. They're won in McDonald's booths at midnight, in online classes at 2 a.m., in the choice to stay when everyone expects you to leave. Today, Marcus Johnson still has his McDonald's uniform, framed in his apartment next to his college acceptance letter and a drawing Zoe made titled, "My Hero Daddy." He keeps it as a reminder that circumstances are temporary, but love is permanent. And LeBron James, when asked about his greatest assist, doesn't mention basketball. He mentions a 19-year-old father who taught him that the real MVPs wear fast food uniforms and carry pink backpacks. Share this story if you believe fathers who stay deserve recognition. Comment below if your father chose to fight for you. Tag a dad who never gave up. Some fathers leave, some stay. The ones who stay change the world, one bedtime story at a time.